What if I told you that right now you can grab insane RAM combo deals at or below prices that you would have paid in 2025? And in some cases, the RAM, it's virtually free. Welcome back to PC Builder, I'm Jason. Now with the RAM price explosion, many gamers have given up building a gaming PC in 2026 or even upgrading their existing PC. Some are even saying this is the end of PC gaming. But today I'm going to show you insane RAM deals, and I'm going to show you a $1,000 PC build for 1440p gaming, a $1,400 PC build capable of very high FPS at 1440p, and a $2,200 ultimate gaming PC build. And all of these you can build today. If you get value out of this video, please give it a like or subscribe for more cool PC content. Let's jump into it.
This video is sponsored by VIP SSD Key. Say goodbye to crazy expensive Windows licenses and that terrible Activate Windows watermark. Right now, use the links in the video description, head over to VIP SSD Key and get a Windows 11 OEM license for a great price. Pick your product license, then use the PC Builder discount code PC25 for an additional 30% off. Go to the activation settings on your PC, put in the code, and boom! Windows is fully licensed for a crazy low price. And they have Microsoft Office licenses too. Use the links in the video description.
All right, let's start off with the first RAM deal here. There's tons and tons of these. I'm just picking this one because the RAM basically comes out to $90-ish. $90-ish, about $100. Let's go through this. For $968, you get a Mag X870 Tomahawk Wi-Fi. That is a $250 motherboard. You get the Ryzen 9850X3D. That's a $500 gaming CPU. That's the MSRP for it. You get the Corsair Vengeance 32 gigabyte kit of RAM. This is 6400 CL36. We all know with the Ryzen 9000 X3D CPUs or any of the X3D CPUs, RAM speed essentially does not matter because of the V-cache on it. In addition to that, you're going to get the Crimson Desert game bundle. So that's another $70 right there. And you're going to get a pretty decent mid-range gaming mouse here. This is the Asus ROG Harpy Mini Core Wired for $45. If you add all that up, the RAM price here is $98. Even if you say, Jason, I don't want to value the mouse. And I'm not even adding in the McAfee Total Protection. I don't generally use that stuff anyway. Even if you take away the mouse from that or the game, you're still like $140, which is basically what you would have paid for a decent Corsair kit before the RAM crisis. But what if I told you you could get free RAM? Actually, this RAM, they're going to pay you $4. Now check this out. So again, we've got another Ryzen 9850X3D combo kit here with the game bundle and with that same mouse that we were just talking about. So we got all those values going. We're not going to count the antivirus stuff there. Then we've got a super high-end motherboard, the Asus ROG Strix X870E-E gaming Wi-Fi. Fantastic motherboard, typically sells for around $400. And then you get the same Corsair Vengeance kits that we're talking about. If you add this one up, you basically get -$4 for the RAM. This is free freaking RAM, free RAM in 2026. Totally insane. The whole package is $1,019. Now, I'm sure some of you out there are like, that's fine, Jason, if you want to buy a $500 gaming CPU and put together this really big gaming. What about the rest of us more in the mid-range? You want to just get in a game like Crimson Desert that's just came out? Check this out. $429, not $1,000, $429. You're going to get a Ryzen 9600X CPU. It's about $190. You're going to get an MSI Pro B850-S Wi-Fi motherboard. Not bad for $150. You're going to get a Cooler Master Master Liquid 240L, 240 millimeter all-in-one liquid cooler. They're going to tell you it's $85. We're going to value that at $50. Let's not BS around. And we're just going to ignore the antivirus stuff. Now, you also get a 16 gigabyte kit of DDR5 RAM that's RGB. And yes, 16 gigs, not 32 gigs. 16 gigs, of course, is enough for gaming in 2026. Crimson Desert test just proved that once again. You don't need any more than that to play the game. And if you add all this stuff up, you basically get that RAM kit for $41. $41, pretty insane. And of course, there are even cheaper kits out there with just like 16 gigabytes of DDR4 RAM, a Ryzen 5500, a motherboard that is not $154 Newegg. I'm going to value that at $100, and then $44 for the gaming mouse. Once you add all this up, the RAM comes out to like $40 basically for 16 gigabytes of DDR4. That's pretty good. I'd say that's pre-crisis pricing. And if you don't like the ones I just showed you, they've got tons and tons of variations out there. I just picked some of the ones that I felt like were best value. There are ones like with PSUs and RAM, not as good. Typically the parts with the higher margins like CPUs and motherboards, you're gonna find the best discounts out there, especially when you click in and you see they're also offering a free gift of something like a cooler. So I would definitely check all those out. And I'll leave a link down in the video description for you. So Micro Center offers these combos as well. And this is honestly the way I think we're gonna to end up buying RAM in 2026 to build a good gaming PC. And even if you're outside the US, by the way, I found, and I'll link the spreadsheet down in the video description. I just did a quick search on some of this stuff. I found deals in the UK, Canada, India, Germany, Philippines, Australia, the Netherlands, Sweden, and even the broader EU. Check it out. I haven't had time to vet all of these, but I'll give you the links to get you started. Let's start off with the high end, and we're going to work with our ultimate 4K or 1440p gaming PC build. You'll notice no combos involved in this one right now. We'll compare it versus the combos and see how much we save. $2,500, it's not a bad price for a system like this. It's super high end. Now, you're going to use, obviously, a really high-end GPU with it as well. So let's talk about your GPU choices here. I went with the RX 9070 XT, 16 gigabyte. More about that in just a second. You could obviously go with the RTX 5070 Ti. Right now, it's about $1,000. It's kind of expensive. 5080, $1,289 up to $1,400 for one of those. And obviously the 5090, you're going to spend actually double the cost of the system here for that. That's why I went with the RX 9070 XT, 16 gigabyte. I just picked one at random. You can get them as cheap as $729 right now. I went with the Gigabyte Gaming OC. This is a model that we used. We actually used it in an ITX build that we liked a lot. And you'll notice right away, I'm sure some of the eagle-eyed of you, Jason, it actually comes with the free Crimson Desert game. So that's actually going to hurt the value of your combo. Yes, it is. Instead of the RAM costing -$4 on the combo, it's going to cost like $66 for 32 gigabyte kit. So it's still pretty good. In terms of FPS performance, this is the tech spot RTX 5070 Ti versus 9070 XT comparison with including upscaling on it that they did back in November. I'll link it down in the video description. You can see very competitive with the 5070 Ti in terms of overall FPS performance, basically neck and neck. Crimson Desert game, obviously it is about 10% or so behind. Hopefully they will upgrade the performance on that because it is an AMD sponsored title. So I do think they'll probably continue to optimize it for that. But let's jump into the rest of the build here. We're going to go with the Ryzen 9850X 3D. PC Part Picker says it's $489. However, Amazon here says it's $499. We're going to go with that. And yes, you also get the free Crimson Desert game with it. Obviously, anytime you buy either Ryzen 9000 X3D CPU or any of the 9070 or higher end GPUs. I went with the Montech Hyperflow here. I think this is a great cooler, very competitive. In fact, probably the top performer right now in terms of overall noise and performance. ARGB on it, $89 is insanely cheap for 360 millimeter all-in-one liquid coolers. It's come down about $10 or $15. I will also say ASUS is running an insane motherboard sale on like all their motherboards right now. So if you don't need RAM for some reason, you just want to upgrade your motherboard, jump in our best Ryzen motherboard video. We've got tons and tons in there. And you can see they've cut the price on this about $35 or so. The list price, it says $479. Usually sells about $410. So this is a pretty good sale that they've got going on right now. Then, of course, we've got the Corsair Vengeance. This is the exact kit that we're going to get. $369 you could pay just straight off the bat, or you could get it for basically almost free with a combo deal. So I think that's what we'll do with it. But with these X3D CPUs, you really do not need anything better than this because the X3D CPU just doesn't really care. In terms of storage, yes, storage is another pain point right now. RAM and SSDs getting eaten up by AI data centers. It's a great time not to overspend on your SSD. I know people love to do that for performance that you will never see as an ordinary user. You know, rip creators out there. But if you're just a gamer, just an ordinary user, I would pick up something like this, the Patriot P410. 2 terabytes is much better price than 1 terabyte right now if you do want extra storage on a per terabyte basis, I should say. $248. It's steep, but this is one of the better values out there. I love the Lian V100 case. We did our Ryzen 9850 X3D gaming PC build guide in the white version of this case. Here's the black version. $75 is insane, and you'll note other PC component prices have massively fallen to help offset some of those RAM prices too. And then for the PSU, I just went with an 850 watt PSU. This is A-tier rated. We recently did our PSU buying guide for 2026. This is a new entry from ASRock as of last year. 850 watts, A-tier rated, and is a very, very good unit. So how much do we save with our combo here that I showed you earlier? $1,019 for the Ryzen 9850 X3D, the same motherboard, Strix motherboard we're using, same kit of RAM that we're using here, and it comes with, obviously, the Crimson Desert game bundle. We're gonna cross that out because we already have one with our RX 9070 XT. Then we've got the ASUS ROG Harpy, pretty good mid-range gaming mouse. Now, we didn't include that in the previous build. We often don't, but you need a mouse to play games these days. Let's jump into this. You're gonna spend $2,261.98. That's less, $200 less, and we're getting the $45 gaming mouse on top of it. So you can see it's pretty significant savings. We've gone from would have been over $2,500 with the gaming mouse. Now we're well under $2,300 with that. All right, let's jump into that mid-range gaming PC build for 1440p gaming. You could really do anywhere from, I think, $1,200 up to $1,500 depending on your GPU choice and others, and the combo deals. So let's jump into this one. We're going to go with the AM5 combo on this one. So we want a relatively powerful GPU. We want to spend most of our money, if we can, on the GPU, about half of it, then just want to get a CPU that's not going to bottleneck us and is going to set us up for some future success here. We can always upgrade this to a 9800X3D, 7800X3D, Zen 6 or Zen 7, whatever is coming down the pike with it. Here, I went with a 9070 16 gigabyte for $609. This one, by the way, does come with a Crimson Desert game bundle, which is great because we don't get that with our CPU combo or RAM combo deal, rather. And with the $20 off here, it's $609. You could also go with the RTX 5070. I think is another good option here if you, for whatever reason, have to have NVIDIA. $629, about as cheap as they get. But NVIDIA has extended, at least until the end of March, their Resident Evil Requiem game bundle with it, with anything 5070 or higher. I love that because now it gives you some competing choices out there. It's a pretty decent GPU with 12 gigs of VRAM. In terms of going like to a 9060 XT 16 gigabyte or 5060 Ti 16 gigabyte, normally I would say that's a good option as well for these builds if you want to go lower end. However, they do not come with the games. So the 5060 Ti doesn't come with Resident Evil Requiem. The 9060 XT 16 gigabyte does not come with the Crimson Desert game. So if you want the games and you want to consider that in, I would go up a little bit. In terms of overall FPS performance, they're not honestly that far off from their bigger, the 9070 XT. 127 average FPS if you're using FSR4 performance. We're not really going to do that, but it's native TAA or FSR4 quality, pretty competitive with the 9070 XT. The 5070, a little bit slower, 12 gigs of VRAM, can struggle on some titles with higher end ray tracing like Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, but I still think very viable, especially with the game bundle. All right, let's punch through the rest of the build. We're going to go with the Ryzen 9600X. Probably needs no introduction. The funny thing on the Newegg combos right now, the 7600X combos are actually more expensive, so obviously get the 9600X. Games like a 7700. We're going to go with a Budget Tower air cooler here, Thermalright Assassin X120. Any of these Budget Tower air coolers are perfectly adequate. I picked this one because it's one of the cheapest right now. We're going to go with the MSI Pro B650-S Wi-Fi. So it's a B850 motherboard. It's got PCIe Gen 5 on the main GPU slot, which is kind of nice. It's a more cut down motherboard, but it is ATX size. I know some people really like it. I'm not a big fan of the heat sinks personally, but for $140 for an ATX motherboard for B850, it's pretty good. Now, I will say some of the good signs on the RAM market is that we are seeing 16 gigabyte DDR5 kits, good ones too. This is 6000 CL38. This is not 5200 CL40, which you can find out there for $199. So that's after the promo code. That's kind of how Newegg prices everything. Newegg, you got to do this in a way we don't need to get good at math to know what the price of everything is. Just FYI. But this is a $199 kit. We're seeing these kits filter in at those lower levels. We are seeing RAM prices ebb quite a bit right now. Hopefully that trend continues, but this is what I would pick up. Then of course we'd go with the Patriot P400 Lite. This is a 1 terabyte NVMe SSD, again after the $10 promo code, which is just an instant savings. It's $131. That's about the going rate for 1 terabyte of PCIe Gen 4 storage right now, NVMe. I'm just going to pick up a relatively cheap ATX PC case. This is after the $10 rebate, it's $59. If you don't like that, you can also pick up the Montech XR Woods, another good choice for about $69. And then in terms of the PSU, I went with a unit that I absolutely love right now for more mid-range and budget build, which is the Roswell VSB 650 watt ATX 3.1 compatible, and it's $50 for a 650 watt unit, which is all you're going to need for this entire build, mostly owing to the super power efficiency of the 9600X. So all told, $1,393.22 for the entire build, no combo. So let's check it out. So let's throw in a combo that we looked at a little while ago, $429. We get the 9600X, we get the same B850 motherboard. We do get an RGB kit of RAM at the same speed and timings, and we get the 240 millimeter all-in-one liquid cooler. Also RGB, that's also going to add some additional airflow to our overall PC build, which I really like. $1,280, so basically saving $120, and we're upgrading a couple of components. The most notable one, obviously, is the 240 millimeter all-in-one liquid cooler. Yes, the Budget Tower air cooler, perfectly adequate, but the 240 is going to be better. It's going to be better for the acoustics. It's going to be better for the overall cooling of it. So 2 thumbs up there. And then in terms of the other upgrade, we got RGB on the RAM. Now, some people might say, I don't care about RGB on the RAM. You can always turn it off if you don't like it. But I do think personally, that's an upgrade for me. It's an opportunity to light up your build. $1,280.95. Overall, pretty good value. Now, last year, similar build would have cost about the same amount. Maybe you would have gotten 32 gigs of RAM. Maybe you wouldn't, but this is a pretty good price. Let's jump to the best $1,000 PC build in 2026 with no combos whatsoever. Then we'll take a look at what you can do with combo deals as well. Obviously, as we get down to more the budget end, the combo deals start getting squeezed a little bit because there's just less in terms of overall margins to cut out there. But I think this is a pretty good build for $978.93. You're going to be able to play all the latest titles at 1440p, relatively high settings with the RX 9060 XT 16 gigabyte. If you're thinking about NVIDIA, I would probably not. The 5060 Ti 16 gigabyte, unfortunately, the cheapest one's $549. It doesn't even come with the free game. And for the price of the game, which is Resident Evil Requiem, if you're going to buy that game, that's $70 value. If you add that in, you'd already be at the RTX 5070. So if you do want NVIDIA, I would not buy the 5060 Ti. Buy the 5070, get the free game, and it's basically the same price as the 5060 Ti, kind of crazy. Then, of course, we do have the Intel Arc B580. These are good GPUs overall. I will say, unfortunately, the black one just sold out as I was filming this. It looks like the white one at $289. And it comes with the Intel Holiday Game Bundle, which you can get Battlefield 6 or one of the other 3 games there instead. Pretty good value. Unfortunately, for whatever reason, the developer of Crimson Desert has decided at this time, Intel Arc GPUs don't work with their game. Hopefully they'll fix that. Intel was ready to offer a driver for that, so I kind of don't know really what's up with that, but we'll have to wait and see. Then, of course, we have the RX 9060 XT 16 gigabyte, which is what I would recommend for you all out there. $449 for the Sapphire Pulse OC version right now. And you can find models that are a little bit cheaper, but I think this is a pretty good overall one for $449 on it. In terms of the FPS benchmarks on this, we take a look at the Tech Power Up RX 9060 XT 16 gigabyte Pulse review. So this exact model, 70 average FPS on this one, just a little bit slower than the 5060 Ti 16 gigabytes, about 10-15% slower on it, but it's going to be on a game-by-game basis, and it's generally going to provide you with really good FPS, especially once you turn on FSR4 on it. In terms of the Arc B580, it's down there a little closer to 60 average FPS to 5060 Ti, which again, I wouldn't spend the money for 7 extra FPS. If you wanted to go up to the 5070, you can see the 5070 and the 9070 are kind of quite a bit ahead. All right, let's punch through the rest of the build really quickly. We're going to go with Ryzen 5500. It's a great CPU for budget builds at $85, especially since you can't really find a lot of other DDR4 CPUs out there. The pre-built makers are just buying them up in mass. Anything with a Ryzen 5600, i5 12400 or higher end, relatively expensive out there. That's why I would go with this. You don't get a lot more performance out of those CPUs for the money you're spending. Get something like this instead with included Race Stealth cooler. It's really all you need to cool this CPU. For the motherboard, ASRock B550M Pro 4. I love this motherboard. Since this motherboard has come out, has been one of my favorite B550s. $80 is an insane value. It's got great VRMs, upgraded audio on it. It's got 2 M.2s, just really great motherboard. For the RAM, 16 gigabytes of DDR4 is actually not that expensive. And I will say, prices seem to have stagnated and even come down for DDR4 kits, especially 2x8 gigabyte kits like this. This is my Bellwether kit. It's come down about $5 or $10, $126 right now. Love to see that. On top of that, we're going to add in our same 1 terabyte NVMe SSD that we used in the previous build. We could go 512 gigabytes here and spend about $50 or $60 less. I just think 1 terabyte, I would spend a little bit of extra money for it and grab it right now. Yes, you could get away with 512 gigabytes. I wouldn't look at a SATA drive. You're only going to save $5 or $10 right now. I just don't think it's worth it. I'd go NVMe SSD. And then in terms of the case, I decided to splurge a little bit. You could go a little cheaper on the case here, but the Thermaltake View 170TG is just so good value at $55. And look at that thing. It's freaking amazing. Comes with 3 included ARGB fans, 2 on the side, 1 on the rear there for exhaust. And then we're going to go with that Roswell VSB PSU. Now, I forgot to mention previously, it's C-tier rated. So if you do want to spend an extra $20 or $30 on your PSU and come up to an A-tier rated unit, you can do that. I do think this is pretty much adequate for this build. For $49, it's really insane. So overall, $978.93, but let's take a look at those combo deals. There's a couple different combos you could use. I decided to go with this one with a B550 motherboard, the Ryzen 5500, and a 16 gigabyte kit of RAM, along with that mid-range gaming mouse. You could go B450, and there is a combo with it here. However, even though the Ryzen 5500 is PCI Gen 3, so you're not losing anything there, it does lose some rear panel connectivity, as well as an M.2 slot. I just figured I'd pay 20 bucks for that. Or you could go with 32 gigabytes of RAM for about $60 more with this combo. Here you get a different kit of RAM. I opted to go with the 16 gigabyte one for $276 with the B550. So if we throw all of that in, we saved about $30 or so on this. And then we also got that $45 mid-range gaming mouse. So about $75 overall in terms of the full package that we're getting with that. So not bad savings. Let's play one's favorite game. Should you buy now or should you wait? Honestly, I've linked everything in the video description, the Newegg combos, the outside the US combos. Check out your local Micro Center if you have one. They have combos as well. Those combos bring RAM pricing back to where it was before the crisis. They are insane deals, really insane deals in some cases, basically cheaper or even free in some cases. So I would jump on those. On top of that, GPU prices have stabilized. Now they've stabilized at a higher number, but they're not that much higher than they were most of last year in 2025. We've got the game bundles right now that help give more value to those GPUs. With the game bundle, frankly, the 9070 is about the same price it was at MSRP, so that's crazy. And on top of that, the other components that are not in your combo deal, they're cheaper than they were last year, except for SSDs, obviously. Those are more expensive, but they can help offset some of the additional SSD price you're paying because cases, PSUs, coolers, anything else you need, it's significantly cheaper because they can't sell that stuff right now, so they're cutting the price on it. So a lot of it has somewhat offset, and honestly, I know it feels bad to lose things like customization. You used to be able to pick whatever parts you wanted. You didn't have to worry about combos. I get that. I feel that. Yeah, you're giving up some level of customization for it. But if you saw the Newegg combo list, they got a lot of combos there. You could probably find something you like. So I just feel like who knows what the future holds, especially with what's going on in the world these days. I would buy something right now if you want it and set yourself up for the next couple of years. If you got value out of this video, please give it a like. It makes a huge difference to the channel. Of course, subscribe for more cool PC content. Like, did you check out our best GPU in March 2026? Check it out. What's the best GPU to buy in March 2026? Right here. We go through all of them, including the game bundles. Check it out, and we'll catch you on the next one.